Patchwork is usually or very often considered to be an end in itself. But actually you can use patchwork very effectively to be a background to something else. The something else is very often applique, and I hope that's not a four-letter word to you because it's one of my favorite techniques. And I'm just going to show you some ideas to give you a food for thought, if you like. This is a very simple cushion. You can see that the patchwork background is a very simple 9-patch, and we've got a very simple daisy pattern that has been appliqued on. The cushion is made more interesting by the wibbly wobbly border, and this is actually a design that Jo from Villa Van Crafts has as a pattern, and she has a matching quilt runner that she designed too. This piece of patchwork has a woven background. Again, we've got the simple daisy design as an applique, which was taken as a inspiration, was the fabric here on the edges. But these fabrics are actually woven into place, and then a stitch and quilt as you go method holds them in place. So it's all done as one. In time-honored fashion, I'm going to pop that now on the floor. This is a piece of patchwork that you've probably seen on the website before. I used it as a simple wibbly wobbly border technique workshop for the website. This was in fact a workshop that I took with my friend Delia Salter, who does very simple fused pictures. And then I've made an attempt at free motion quilting to make a landscape. I'm not really a landscape and artistic individual. I tend to do very simple patchwork, but I thought that the wibbly wobbly border, wibbly wobbly background was a little bit more interesting than absolutely straight lines. This was another workshop that I took. This was with Patricia McLaughlin. Again, I've used the slightly wavy background, again, because I think that just takes your eye away from the absolutely rigid background. None of this is difficult to sew, and if you look in the technique section of the workshop, you'll see how to do these. Poppies tend to be one of my favorite themes, and I think they're a very popular picture and flower for a lot of people to do. And as I said, this was a workshop that I did with Patricia McLaughlin. We've got another again, using poppies. We've got very traditional log cabin as the background, and the poppies are appliqued on. This piece of work actually hung in my workshop for some considerable years, just as a top. Now my house is full of tops because I tend not to get them finished. And the reason for making things is that I love to show, and of course, I love to sew rather, and of course running the shop, I needed reasons to showcase the fabric. My excuse for not finishing them was also always that I could store a lot more quilt tops in my wardrobe than I can finished quilts. But this piece actually hung around, and the reason I'm sharing the story with you is that you don't actually sometimes have the ability to finish things because maybe your skill set isn't there. And for me, that was about free motion quilting. I just didn't know how to free motion quilt this. I couldn't get inspiration for it, nor did I actually have the skill. And I had to come to Jenny's workshops and do lots more practice before I felt that I had that actual skill in the bag. And I think you can see, I've managed to do a kind of a diagonal leaf pattern here, which, as I say, was inspired by Jenny's workshop of doing the simple leaves and then come back up the center. And I think that works quite well. I certainly am not showing you this because I think it owns a rosette, but it is something that I've finished, so I'm really quite proud of it. The piece hanging behind me was actually something that I made for my stepdaughter. It's my only kind of foray into being completely artistic because I can't draw if my life depends on it. But again, very simple background of patchwork, which are kind of crazy blocks, graded in colour. We've got this net on top, and then I've free motion quilted. And again, This is a very simple quilting motif that Jenny shows, which is sort of W's and M's, and it's a really easy way of doing background quilting. So I hope that's inspired you to think about patchwork as just a foil for maybe some simple applique or some pictures.